You feel superior to your partner in one of the areas of your life. Somewhere deep down inside, you feel you're a better lover, a better provider, a better parent, you're better looking, you're more athletic, you're more intelligent, you're more emotionally deep. That is real, and everyone has that. And today I'm going to tell you what you can do about that. Hi. My name is Dr. Assael Romanelli. This is The Potential State, and today I'm going to be talking about you feel superior to your partner. Here's what to do about it. So about a year ago, as I was working in the clinic, this little itch started itching me from the inside about my own marriage. All these places where I saw Galit, my wife, as inferior to me, and all these other parts in my marriage where I felt she was superior to me, but we never really spoke about it. Because it's not really PC, it's not really egalitarian, it's not really romantic. But slowly this itch became bigger and bigger until one of the evenings, it was a Thursday night, I just opened it up and we it was an explosion. It was an explosion, and we were hurt and insulted and scared. It rocked us because nobody ever talks about these things. And the second we opened it up, I realized I started seeing this with every single couple I work with. In every single couple, there's an unequal distribution of power, as my wife Galit says. It's usually implicit, it's usually secret, it's usually embarrassing. We don't want to talk about it. We want to pretend as if we're the same in every single department, but it's not true. It can't be true. The world is complex. We're different people. And there's always going to be this pecking order. That's the way nature works. There's always a pecking order. We spoke about status in previous episodes. So what I realized, and I call this either or number 3, right? These dichotomies. So we had either you or me, either big or small. This is the either of that 95 or 70. Why 95 or 70? Because in that initial talk a year ago with my wife, it came up that in certain departments, I'm the 95 and she's only 70. And in certain departments, she's the 95 and I'm the 70. And this 95-70 either, I see this more and more in almost every single couple I work with. And I think it originates from a low self-esteem, from a place of what Unequal calls a reflected sense of self. I feel better about myself because I compare myself to others. So I need to compare myself to my wife, to my partner, to my husband, to my significant other. So I need to kind of lower them a little bit so I feel a little bit better about myself. And usually what I've realized is that if you're feeling superior in a certain area of your relationship, that is maintained by your partner. It's impossible for both partners to feel like that they're both a better parent than the other. There's always this implicit enabling, right? Almost like a division of power. And I want to share with you a little bit of these 95-70s that I've discovered in the past year as I've been opening my eyes up and seeing and owning my own shit in my own marriage. And therefore, the more I own my own shit, the more I can see others. I can see the other shit that other couples are dealing with. So there's 4 types of these kind of 95-70s. So there's these kind of almost like stereotypical 95-70s where people will say all women are 70 or women will say all men are 70s and we're 95s, we're superior, more intelligent, we're more emotionally intelligent, right? Or women don't know how to drive, right? So that's a classic, like women are 70 and men are better drivers. But we can also see that in certain populations, on certain professions. But I'm less going to focus right now on the societal level of the 95-70. I actually want to talk about more in the intimate, committed relationships or marriages. So there's 2 types of these 95-70s. There's the symmetrical 95-70s where the couple implicitly has a contract where one partner will be superior, let's say, in the finances. They'll be making more money, they'll be more successful professionally, and the other one will be seen as less than, right? And feel obviously guilty, and they'll have to prove themselves and always feel not good enough. But then they flip it on the other side. And then, for instance, so if one partner is more successful financially, so the price they're going to pay is that they're going to be worse parents. They're not going to be as good as parents, and they're going to obviously say, well, you're working all the time, but actually you're not that good of a parent. Or in sex, all right? You're rocking it professionally, but in the bedroom you suck, and I will not share with you that part because you're not a good lover, because you're not sensitive enough or you're not deep enough. And in those dances, what usually happens, both partners have a similar level of confidence, of self-esteem. So almost like they're dividing, okay, you'll be 95 in sex, and in emotional intelligence, I'll be 95 in money and professional success. And I'll give you 2 examples how that looks like. So I was working with a couple a few years back. he was the head and she was the heart. He was an engineer, kind of left brain. He took all the finances. He was in charge of the pension and all the savings for the kids. And she was the heart. She was the emotional therapist, going to workshops and trainings. And their dance was that she never felt like she was good enough. She always felt like she wasn't providing enough, wasn't delivering enough of the finances. And they both belittled her financially, even though she was very successful before they got together. And then she belittled him to being emotionally handicapped. He has no emotional intelligence. He has no potential there. He's not as deep. So that split was very, very clear. And for years, that was their contract. What happened is at a certain point, she wanted more. She wanted more, but for her to take more, first they needed to own it. They first needed to admit it. They first needed to actually say, yes, I think you're a little bit like a little girl, not providing enough, going to all these weekend workshops, but you're not bringing enough money. And she finally could say to him, not as a joke and not as a jab, saying, I don't think you're sensitive enough. I don't think you're emotionally deep enough to meet me there. And another example, which is a little bit different, a more extreme example, was a very successful businessman I worked with and his wife, who was a professional before they got married. She was a stay-at-home mom. And their 95-7 was actually professionally and financially was 99-1. He was providing for everything. She did not work. But then they had to balance out with a 99-1% on parenting. She would often call him the babysitter, right? Because he's not really a parent, he's just babysitting. But it's clear that he's not there and he doesn't know what to do. And obviously she's also going to punish him with sex. So you don't get any sex, right? You're the inept lover and you're not going to get it because you don't know how to talk to me, you don't know how to touch me, you don't know how to love me. So that's the first type, that's the symmetrical 95-70. That's also what I was discovering when I was going into my own marriage, how we had certain departments where I was the 95 and Galit was the 70, and then the certain departments where she was the 95 and I was the 70. The second version, which is also I'm seeing this more and more, is the asymmetrical version, where one partner is the 95 and the other partner is 70 in all the different departments. And that usually happens when obviously the two people have a similar level of confidence, right? They both need a reflected sense of self, but they divided it that one partner is all of the 95. So this one man I was working with, he was 95 in all the departments. He looked better, he was more successful, he was more intelligent, he was more emotional, he was a better parent, he was better, he cleaned the house better, and everything he was better. And then but he kept having to raise his wife and say, oh, she's amazing, but actually they both really felt that she's not delivering enough, and she constantly was scared that he was going to leave, and he constantly felt like he needed to always treat her nice and comfort her and encourage her, even though they both had that division of power. And you're thinking, why would that last for 15 years? Well, for him, that gave him the security that she's never going to leave, she's never going to find someone as good as him. So he has complete confidence in the relationship, in the marriage. And she gets from it a sense of dependency. He's going to be there. She feels better because he's giving her confidence. But deep down inside, they both were afraid to open that contract up. And the more I'm working with couples, there's always this fear of, if I really say that, they're going to freak out and leave me. And I want to say something about that. It quite possibly might be true, but the other option is, we call this high risk, high gain in improv and in psychotherapy, right? So if I'm going to say to her, the truth is I'm feeling superior in these departments. So two things might happen. Once, they might be insulted and they might leave, which is always a risk. That's a high risk. But the high gain is they probably, once they get over the insult, they're actually going to realize, yes, that's true. We did divide up this back in 15 years ago. And that's going to send them into, both of you guys, once that shit's on the table, it's going to slowly turn into, if you can linger in that crucible, it's going to turn into a compost, like Galit, my wife, says. And then slowly what's going to happen is you're going to renegotiate and something new is going to come out. Because the other option is just thinking that and not being embarrassed to say it out loud, like that man said, I've never said this out loud, but I don't think she's smart enough, she's as smart as me. So basically you're condemning yourself to a life sentence where you need to be false and fake and eggshell around the person you're most intimate with. And here's another spoiler. They feel that intuitively anyway. There's no chance that you feel superior to your partner in a department in your relationship and he or she does not feel that as well. That's impossible. Because you wouldn't be able to maintain that sense for week after week, month after month. Even if it pisses them off, that's just going to be the way we divide it. So What are you going to do about this? So the first stage is own your shit. Realize you have it. Stop pretending that you guys are equal in everything. That is not true. Accept that. Get pissed off at yourself. You can get angry at me even if you want. Accept that, first of all. Then reflect with yourself. Is this a generalized 95-70 about the other gender, about other people? Or is this actually a very specific about our relationship? And if it is in our relationship, where am I 95 and where is he or she 70? In what departments? And is it 95 or 70? Maybe it's 80-20. And start listing them out. Almost write them down to yourself. So when it comes to sex, I'm 80, she's 90. When it comes to parenting, I'm 90, she's 40. When it comes to the looks, okay? Start going, like map out all these departments in your relationship, and just map out the unequal distribution of power. Who's more than the other? And once you have that, and you've kind of digested that, and you'll be shocked, embarrassed, scared, all these emotions are going to come up, trust me. The next thing you do is you show them this episode, have them listen to it, see it, prepare them, and explain to them the reason you want to do this is because you want more. You kind of want to break that contract to the next evolution. And then what you guys do, you slowly, perhaps with a third party, perhaps with a therapist, or perhaps just the two of you, start discussing this, start opening this up. And as the partner, it'll be easy for you to open up the departments where you think or you feel or the consensus is that you're the 95. It's going to be much harder for you to open the departments where you're the 70 or you're the 60 or you're the 40. So just breathe through those moments. And you don't have to do anything. Just allow the discussion to organically turn this shit into some sort of compost, into something we can talk about. We can start reflecting, wow, why did we do that? How did that serve me? What did that enable me? Okay, so if I'm thinking about the head and the heart, so because he was holding, right, the finances, she could dive in not only into her motherhood, but into her own self as she was developing her therapeutic persona. So it served her for 15 years that she was the heart, but she was the immature heart. She was like the teenager in the relationship. And for him, being the responsible adult for 15 years, the head, the finance, right, the Ministry of Finance, it gave him a sense of control, of power, of respect. But 15 years later, she talks over his head because she's sure that he has zero emotional intelligence, and he belittles her all the time, doesn't really believe that she can really stand on her own two legs. So once you open that up, just have that conversation. What happened? Why did that happen? Own it. Don't blame the partner. Don't ever blame your partner for that 95-70. You enabled it. So why did that serve me to be 95? And why would I choose to give 70? And usually what happens is it's almost like we're negotiating. Okay, I'll make more money than you, but there's a tax. Okay, I'll give you parenting. Okay, or I'll give you looks, or I'll give you exercise, sport. Okay, you'll be more fit than I am. Okay, and that's how we're going to do it. And basically, this is a chance to, once we reflect on that, is to renegotiate that. And then this is going to take months and years. This is not something that happens overnight. But what you're going to discover the second you say it, it's out there, then it becomes much less of a big issue. It's less burning. It becomes from a big secret, a big taboo that we never want to talk about. We kind of we walk around and we avoid it, to something that's there and we can work at it and laugh about it. And when it happens again, we just smile. I'll give you an example, okay? In our parenting, Galit was the 95 and I was the 70. And that was a tax I paid. And it took us, our eldest is 7. It took us 7 years. But only in the past year, since we've been opening up these 95-70s, I've been able to really reclaim that and to see why I gave Galit the 95 and why I preferred to be the 70s, because that gave me, let her have the control, but also let her have all the headache. And actually, once I can reclaim that, it kind of shifted the dynamics. She had to give up a little bit of the 95, and I had to step up and rise from the 70. And now you're probably wondering, does it ever get equal? So as far as my research has shown me, you can never really get, maybe this is going to change in the future, you can never really get to 50-50 or 100-100 or 90-90. There's always going to be a little bit of a power dynamic, a little bit of uneven distribution of power. But what I'm discovering in my marriage and being with the couples I'm working with is it goes from a rigid 95 and 70 in a certain department or in all the relationship to a kind of fluid, seesaw kind of a 80-70, and then it goes down to 75-70, but then it can rise to 90-70, but then it can flip. And some days Galit will be 70 in the parenting, and I'm going to be 80. I'm going to rock it. Okay, and I'm going to feel a little bit superior to her. But since we have this as a language, I don't have to act it out. I can just say it. We can joke about it. We can say, who's the 70 now? Who's the 80? I'm feeling amazing. I'm feeling 95. Okay, it suddenly becomes part of like an acceptable part of the relationship. And suddenly this big secret, this big power dynamic does not become a big issue. And then my hope is, if you do this over time, that the 95-70 will slowly minimize and will shift between you guys. And my real hope is that this will trickle out to our communities and to our society at large. And these power dynamics between the patriarchy, for instance, between men and women, or between certain populations in society, or between countries, we will slowly own that stuff, and we will be able to balance that out to a more fluid, aware dance. So, if you feel superior to your partner, you know what to do. My name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this was The Potential State. I'll see you next time.